When I bled the life from his body, I wish you could have seen your brother's eyes.
I told you the weather was going to be bad for you.
The film opens with scenic shots of a picturesque island, accompanied by smooth jazz music played by Nora, a young, talented performer from Chicago. She's seen performing for Manuel Alvarez, the island's most influential business mogul. Impressed by her talent, Manuel offers Nora an exclusive position at his club, promising to pay her triple her Chicago earnings. Nora is intrigued but uncertain about the offer. During this moment, Akeem, a bartender employed by Manuel for 2 months, accidentally spills wine on her. He apologizes, and Nora reassures him that it's not his fault. However, Manuel reacts violently, slitting Akeem's throat as a show of his ruthless dominance and zero tolerance for mistakes. Horrified, Nora feels cornered and accepts Manuel's offer. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Officer Mark Etheridge and his chatty partner Phil complete a successful undercover drug operation. Just as Mark makes a joke about Phil, he receives a call from his hometown. It's tragic news about his younger brother, Akeem. Devastated, Mark reflects on their close bond, forged since their parents moved to the island. The two were inseparable until a personal tragedy, Mark's unborn daughter's death, drove him to leave for LA 7 years earlier. Now, Mark must return home under grim circumstances. Back on the island, Mark attends Akeem's funeral. Later, he shares a heartfelt moment with his mother, Yvonne, as they go through Akeem's belongings. He asks about Akeem's life, and Yvonne says he had been doing well. Mark is taken aback when she mentions trouble. He remembers the island as peaceful. Yvonne explains things have changed since his departure. Mark promises her he'll find out who killed Akeem. Next, Mark visits his old friend and the island's police chief, Nate Wayland, to ask about the investigation. Nate admits he has no solid leads but suspects gang involvement. Mark is shocked, and Nate explains that gangs from neighboring islands have brought crime and drugs with them. He urges Mark to be patient, noting the limited resources available compared to LA. Mark then meets his ex-wife Akila, who's been running a dojo for local kids. They talk about their past and the island's worsening situation. Akila explains that Manuel Alvarez controls nearly everything, from banks to hotels, and wields enormous power. She warns Mark not to count on Nate's investigation, as fear of Manuel prevents people from speaking out. She suspects Manuel's ties to the gangs, who avoid attacking his properties. She also reveals that Akeem had been working at Manuel's club for the past 2 months. Determined, Mark confronts Manuel at his club. Their tense conversation reveals they've both done background checks on each other. Manuel denies involvement in Akeem's death but gives Mark a gang hideout address, pretending to cooperate. It's a trap. After Mark leaves, Manuel contacts a gang to eliminate him. Sensing danger, Mark retrieves his weapons from his friend Tessian and heads to the club. He questions the gang members about Akeem, but they try to intimidate him. Mark takes them down easily. Soon after, a motorbike hit squad sent by Manuel attacks, but Mark narrowly escapes. Anticipating retaliation, Mark sends his mother to stay with Akila. Nate investigates the gunfire at both the club and Yvonne's house. Mark meets him there and pleads for help. Nate suggests speaking to Nora, who might have witnessed something. He gives Mark her address. Nora, kept under watch by a drug dealer on Manuel's orders, has pretended to stay high while secretly avoiding the drugs. When Mark visits, she's hesitant but eventually confides in him after he promises to help her escape. Her testimony confirms Mark's suspicions. He places Nora's safety in Nate's hands and asks Phil to find her a safe house in Miami. Nate wants to arrest Manuel and use Nora as a witness, but Mark argues that the case won't survive in court. Manuel, enraged, confronts the hit squad. One member attempts to bargain for his life by handing over a photo of Akila taken from her home. However, Manuel shows no mercy and executes the entire squad. He then contacts his allies in the Colombian cartel for backup. Armed with submachine guns, the cartel operatives first search Akila's dojo. Finding it empty, they move to her house. Spotting the cartel's vehicle, Mark alerts Aquila and his mother. He leads them into the forest while exchanging fire with the attackers. He and Aquila manage to take down 2 of them. Nate, responding to a message, engages the fleeing cartel but they escape. Mark and Nate arrange a meeting point afterward. Manuel searches for Nora at her old location and finds it empty. Furious, he kills the dealer. With his empire crumbling and the witness gone, he orders his lieutenant to do whatever it takes to stop the investigation. At the station, Nate organizes his evidence and entrusts it to a local priest, fearing he won't survive. Mark visits Tessian, intending to leave Yvonne and Aquila with him, but Aquila refuses to stay behind. She insists on fighting alongside Mark. Later that night, Nate arrives at the rendezvous but is ambushed. Beaten and dying, he is followed by cartel operatives who kidnap Aquila during a shootout. Mark cradles Nate in his final moments, recalling childhood memories to comfort him. The next day, a grief-stricken Mark rallies the community at church, revealing Manuel's crimes. The priest hands him Nate's envelope of evidence, including documents on Manuel's money laundering. Mark declares himself acting police chief and instructs the local officers to spread the word. He will face Manuel at the station. As he reviews the evidence, Phil surprisingly joins him, ready to help take down Manuel. 2 local kids inform Mark they saw Manuel's right-hand man at an abandoned hotel, an ideal place to hold Aquila. Manuel calls to propose a trade, Aquila for Nora. Mark agrees and alerts Phil to prepare a rescue mission. The next day, Mark meets Manuel at the agreed location, stalling him while Phil rescues Aquila. Once she's safe, Mark tells Manuel he's lost, his men are dead, and it's over. Enraged, Manuel orders Mark's execution, but Mark disables the gunman. As the man prepares to shoot Mark from behind, Tessian arrives with armed villagers and kills him. Tessian wants to kill Manuel, but Mark insists on a fair fight. The 2 duel. Mark uses martial arts, Manuel wields a knife. Mark defeats and kills him in the same brutal way Akeem was murdered. With Manuel gone, the island is liberated from his tyranny. In the final scene, Mark and Aquila relax on the beach. Mark places a ring on her finger, symbolizing their reunion.